Manifesting 7 reasons your relationship might be holding you back.
If you've ever felt like your relationship isn't helping you grow, or worse, like it might be actually holding you back, you are not alone. So today we are exposing some of the truths about couples that they might not even realize about their relationship. And we'll be right back after this.
Welcome to Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. This power couple is building stronger marriages one day at a time. Talking about real issues on love, relationships, and marriage longevity. Let's break down the barriers and engage in healthy conversation with your hosts, Jason and Tina Marie. Take a seat and buckle up because things are about to get real.
Hey, welcome to the show.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to another Friday.
Yes, welcome to another episode of Loving Beyond the I Do podcast. We are Jason and Tina Marie.
That's me.
And we are here to inspire and empower individuals with actionable strategies and insights for developing meaningful and fulfilling relationships using universal principles, effective communication, and mindset shifts.
Using the manifest framework, mindset, awareness, nurture, intention, focus, empower, strengthen, and transform.
All right, and today we are discussing 7 reasons why your relationship might be holding you back. And let me tell you, some of these reasons, they'll make you rethink everything you thought about the big 3 C's. Commitment, commitment,
Communication.
and compromise.
There you go.
And more.
All right. So love and relationships should elevate you, right? That's the whole point in having them, not keep you stuck. And today we're going to break down 4 of the 7 reasons why your relationship might be holding you back. But before we do, have you grabbed our book? And if you haven't, what are you? Go to manifestajoyfillrelationship.com to get your copy.
Start transforming yourself and your relationship today. All right. So make sure you go out and grab that. And you know what? A huge shout out to all of our loyal listeners who have already gotten a copy. Drop me some fire and some heart emojis in the comment section if you already have your copy so we can shout you out.
So for all of you guys out there who already have your copy, please drop some fire or heart emojis in the comment section so we can give you your kudos.
Oh, yes.
So we just say thank you, thank you, and thank you again.
All right, so tonight is a special night because we have a special guest.
But tell them where they can contact us.
You can connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Pinterest, and LinkedIn at Legendary Relationship. You can also listen to our podcast, Loving Beyond the I Do, wherever you get your podcasts delivered. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart Podcasts, or YouTube. Or go to our website, legendaryrelationship.com, and click on podcasts. All right. So like I said before, we have a special guest. So let me introduce our special guest. It is Lisa Saunders. She is the founding member of Singleversity, NFP.
All right. So let me read Lisa's bio to you. She is a woman. Let me get it, guys. And you know, nothing wants to work when you need it to. So she is a woman who loves God and seeks to please him in all she says and does. I can't get it to go big. So we're going to do this. Technology never works for you. All right. A poet who writes and recites to inspire women and whoever else can relate to her flow. A mother, grandmother, wife, entrepreneur, work associate, good friend, servant leader, president, and founder of Singleversity, NFP, a non-for-profit organization that teaches, supports, and empowers individuals to thrive as Christians in their God-given purpose. Singleversity's mission is to reach one and teach one to love God, oneself, and community for holistic growth and healthy relationships. So let's welcome our special guest tonight, Lisa Saunders. All right. Hey. So, Lisa, tell us something about yourself that we didn't read in your bio. Give our viewers a little info about you.
Oh, well, I think you pretty much summed it up, really. In the bio, honestly, I'm a servant leader. I'm a regular woman who loves the Lord. I love talking about God. And the thing that I love the most is that I love challenging myself or putting myself to the test to walk in alignment with his word. So, a lot of times we get to hear the preaching, but we don't see the example of the teaching.
Okay.
So it's my goal to be that example, the best that I can.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
That's all we can strive to be, right?
I'm not going to take this over, but I got a lot to say about that.
All right. So let's get into tonight's lesson. All right. So let's get into our reason number 1, which is lack of communication and understanding, which is associated with the law of oneness. So,
yes. So excited to get into this.
So how many struggle to open up with their partner? Whether it's about your fears, your dreams, or whether it's just about what you want to do in life, past wounds, we hold back because we think that we're going to be judged or rejected, right? This ties into tonight's chapter 1, the law of oneness. So for you all who have the book, you should know about chapter 1, the law of oneness.
Yes.
The law of oneness states that everything is interconnected, and the health of any relationship depends on the flow of energy, mutual understanding, and the ability to effectively communicate your needs, wants, and desires. So is that what we're doing tonight, guys?
That is
We're
exactly
talking
what we're
about
doing.
what's holding us back.
All right. However, change can be scary. And lots of people stay in relationships that aren't serving them because they are afraid of what's next.
So what do you think about that, Lisa?
Ooh, okay. Well, as far as the lack of communication is concerned, so of course you guys know, but your guests, your audience don't know. So I am remarried now, and I was married for 26 years prior to this point. So there's a lot that I learned from the previous relationship to this one. And so one of the key hindrances in our relationship was communication. We were not on one accord with the way we communicated. We were married young, and as for me, I'm not going to speak for my ex, but as for me, I know that I was not true to who I was. First of all, I didn't even know what I wanted in the relationship. So let alone trying to communicate that was extremely difficult.
Very good point.
Yeah, so that is one of the things as far as lack of communication. Why do you feel uncomfortable, communicating? So a lot of times I found myself going to the root of why, getting to the why, the bottom of why am I like this? Why do I feel fearful? And in that relationship, it was a lot that happened, distrust, disloyalty. And so a lot of that led to disrespect. So when you don't trust and you disrespect, and I'm not saying it was him, maybe it was a combination of both, then you feel that really there's no need to do that. And like I said, me not knowing who I was, coming into the relationship or what I wanted or needed made it very difficult to communicate that.
All right. So we know for sure. So you talked about not knowing what you want.
Yep.
So we know that, like you said, most of it is fear, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Now, fear is the number one killer of progress.
yep.
And if you are staying in a relationship out of fear, whether it's a fear of being alone, fear of failure, or the fear of the unknown, you're holding yourself back, which leads to you or your inability to communicate your issues to each other.
And just like what Lisa
Lisa just
said,
said,
right?
yes.
So when we're talking about in the context of communication, when you and your partner operate in alignment with the law of oneness, you begin to perceive each other not as separate entities, which that's most of the time what happens,
Right.
but as two parts of a greater whole, right? So miscommunication, when we're talking about communication, miscommunication arises when there's disconnect.
Right.
And understanding becomes strained. So not only can you not communicate to your partner, but then there becomes a strain in how can we understand each other if we're not communicating. All right. So we must understand that when we're talking about the law of oneness, we have to recognize the unity between you and your partner. And that is the biggest thing that holds us back in our relationship. As we said, our lack of communication and understanding. So if you don't understand the person, or you're not even understanding what's going on, how can you possibly communicate that to one another?
You don't even know how to communicate it, right? Like Lisa said, she said, I didn't know what I wanted. I mean, I was young and we got married and that was kind of it. Now we're just trying to figure this thing out along the way.
Absolutely. So here's something that we want to share with what we think could be on the flip side of that. So you have to be able to communicate effectively so that you can develop deeper, more empathetic understanding, that which paves the way for better communication when you start to understand that you're one. So when we get into relationships, we should look at it and value it as we're not two separate entities, but we're now becoming one, especially when we're talking about marriage. So we know we're dealing on all different types of relationships, but even in your dating or intimate relationships before you get married, you have to remember that as if we're coming together as one, how are we going to be able to understand the two separate people
Right.
that are coming one entity, two entities as one whole?
You know what? Being open, allows for a real intimacy and communication, to flow. And that's where the true transformation begins. If you're holding back out of fear, you're only keeping your relationship and personal growth stagnant.
So Lisa, when you talked about you couldn't communicate that, did you find that your relationship wasn't growing? And do you find this true, that lack of communication and understanding prevents you from moving forward, not only as an individual? Did you find yourself stagnant and your relationship stagnant?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure in so many different ways it became stagnant. And you guys touched on fear a lot, and that played a key role in the lack of communication from my perspective.
Okay.
Getting to the root of things, a lot of things happened in childhood, from molestation, to expressing myself effectively. As a child, you're saying, okay, this is happening to me, but when you feel it's not prioritized, or more so addressing the issue the way you would need it addressed as a child, that's where the fear comes in. Then it's like, okay, who did I disappoint? Who did I hurt? So what I found is that helped me to evolve into a people pleaser.
Wow. Okay.
So then it became, okay, so I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to upset anybody. So now I start to conform who I am to how other people would want me to be.
Okay. So I'm going to stop you right.
Into my relationship.
I'm going to stop you right there, because you're getting into the people pleaser. And that's what we're going to touch on in one of the other things, right? So I don't want you to jump ahead of it. So when we're talking about point one, lack of communication and understanding, what are some of the things that you could suggest, being in that role and understanding the grave importance when it comes to your relationship? What are some suggestions you would offer?
Wow. The first thing is knowing yourself, right? Like I said, I didn't even take that time because I was so busy pleasing other people. I know we're not supposed to get on that, but I had to address it. So I had to, eventually, that marriage ended in divorce. So fast forwarding it into that moment, I had to take the time to disassemble what I thought I was and get back to the root of who I knew I was created to be. So that took being true to myself, taking some time to understand what I wanted and what I needed, in life, you know, and even in a relationship, if I was to consider that again. So
Okay.
those are some key things, you know, spending time with yourself, getting to know who you are versus who you've kind of conformed yourself to be. A lot of times we
Yep.
lose ourselves in relationship,
Yep.
especially when you come
You
out.
getting there. You're getting there. Yep.
Especially
You're stepping on another
Yep,
point.
you're going on that. All right. So here is some. Here, what you say, Lisa?
I said we need to fast forward to people.
I
please.
know, right? Right? Because that's a big issue in relationships. So here are some solutions that you could apply that we may give, right? So get comfortable with difficult conversations. That's the first thing.
Yep. Challenge limiting beliefs.
That's right. Don't just believe what you believe. And then be able to communicate openly about personal and relational needs.
Yep.
So these are things that can prevent you from having that lack of communication because you're being authentic. All right. So
You want to
Lisa,
check any?
you say what? Oh, can you say what?
Want to check and see if we got any?
All right. Do we have any comments, suggestions, anything we need to do? Can we shout out do we have any hearts or fires?
Dennis saying, I'm here, happy Friday, and shared.
All right. Thank you so much, Dennis.
Thank you,
You're here.
Dennis.
And tell moms we said hello too. And thank you for allowing you to show up on time.
Dennis is on time this Friday. All right.
Dot is she dropped some fire emojis.
Oh,
Who?
yeah, because
Dot?
she
All right,
has a
'cause Dot
book.
has
All
the
right.
book.
There you go.
Fire.
She says, good evening or God's evening, Jason and Tina from Cal City.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Dot.
much. Thank you so much, Dot, for showing up. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
Then it says, hey, Lisa, my Jonesite sister from class of 87.
All right.
yeah,
Let's tell
yep,
them just out there.
Gold Rush is saying it was great that she speaks about herself and not about her ex.
Amen.
Amen.
That's right. We can only
Yes.
fix. That's right. We can only fix ourselves.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Then it's saying self-work and mirror work, as well as, yes, Jason, being in an unsafe place to share was something I found effective. A lot of my past relationships due to the fear of not wanting to share my stuff.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
We just keep it down. We're like, what you
Yep.
say, Lise?
Oh no, I'm agreeing with
Oh.
with the comments that's coming up there. There's some real good stuff there.
Yeah, Nancy dropped some heart emojis.
All right, Nancy got the
kudos
book.
to
Thank you
Nancy,
so
got the
much.
book.
Yes,
All
kudos.
right.
Heart.
Gold Rush saying each person truly knowing him or herself is necessary if there's going to be a true unity in a relationship.
Amen.
Amen. Well
Amen.
said. That's for sure.
Don Weber has a question. It's so hard to stop operating on the fear autopilot. What are some suggestions to assist people wanting to open their heart to love?
All right. So, Lisa, you want to tackle it? You want us to tackle it? What's your opinion or your belief?
You know what? I'd rather you guys address that first.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, 'cause I want to follow along.
Okay. Okay. So, as Gold Rush mentioned, the first thing when you want to open up your heart, you have to first give yourself time to know who you are.
Right.
Ask yourself, what do you want in a relationship? Right. And then you have to set up healthy boundaries. So, what do I need? And what, people say, this is my non-negotiable.
Right.
Right.
And we talked about that last week.
Right. So
Yep.
you have to make sure that when you're willing to step back into that arena, that one, you know who you are, you know what your values are, you know what your morals are, right? You have a true compass of who you are and you know what you want in a mate in a relationship. So therefore you have to be able to attract to you someone who shares those same qualities, those same traits, the same morals, and so for that they are a complete and whole person. You are a complete and whole person.
Yeah.
And no one's looking for someone else to complete them, but to complement them and what they already bring to the relationship. A relationship is to complement each other, right? And so I could go on and on, but we got some more points. We got 3 more points. So Jason, do you want to add anything else to that?
I do. Just know what you want. I mean, Lisa just said it. She said that she had to find out what Lisa wanted. So you have to find out what you want in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with putting yourself out there and finding love or looking for love, but know what love you're looking for. Understand what you truly want, not what society says or what you've been raised or the things, people that you've been around that conditioned you. What do you truly want? And if you can answer that question, then you can find the love that you're actually looking for. But if you're trying to conform to various different things, then it's hard for you to be truly happy. So just make sure that you take the time to know what you actually want, and then you can actually attract to you what you really want.
And so I just want to add one more thing. Just know that whatever you want, that you are that. So if you want someone who is loving, make sure that you're loving. We are not going to attract to us what we want if we're not that in equal, which means if we're not displaying that,
Right.
which means that if I'm not a complete person, I can't expect to attract the complete person, because if I do, they're not going to stay, because then I'm not complete. So we have to make sure that we are equal to what we're seeking, which means that we have raised ourselves to the elevation of what we are seeking, if that makes sense. All right.
So what you're saying is don't come to the relationship as a hot mess and expecting somebody else to fix you.
So exactly. That's
I just,
that's gonna sum it up. All right. So the street version.
Yeah.
That's it. All right. Let's get into reason number 2.
Wait.
Oh, emotional. Okay, Lisa, I'm getting emotional. Wait, Lisa. Emotional turmoil.
He started.
He
Go ahead.
started. All right.
Lisa.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Yes, no, I was waiting for you to come back to me because I wanted you guys to express what you want to say
Okay.
first. But definitely piggyback on what you're saying, but also once you realize what that is, try not to deviate too far from it. I'm not saying that everything has to be just straight across the line, but like you said, those non-negotiables, don't deviate from it, because the moment you deviate from it, that's where regret will come in. I promise you. So don't deviate from it.
I always say, don't negotiate on your non-negotiables. When you start to negotiate on your non-negotiables, you're opening yourself up for failure.
Then you're not being authentic.
Right.
Yeah. So, but like you said, Lisa, made me forget. I was just going to say exactly what you're saying. When we know what it is we want, we're not saying that somebody's that's perfect. We're just saying know what you want. And that your non-negotiables are non-negotiables, which means that, okay, then you have to make sure that you put things that you're willing to, well, how would I feel about this? You put those in those categories, but if you don't want somebody who doesn't smoke, don't get someone who smokes, who may check all the other boxes but smokes, and then once you get into the relationship, now resentment sets in because you're trying to force that person to become something that they're not. You want them to stop smoking, but that's who they were when you met them. So that's all we're saying. Just make sure you take the time. That's what I was going to say. Make sure you take the time that you need to heal, to evolve, to elevate, and to become what you're looking for in your relationship. All right, now let's go into reason 2. All right, emotional turmoil or resentment. And this one is associated with the law of vibration. And I'm sure we all have heard of the law of vibration. Okay, so we need to talk about this one, right? As Lisa said, sacrificing your own happiness for what? For the sake of your relationship. That is number 2. All right.
Wow. Yes. So many people think that being in love means putting the relationship above everything, even themselves. Lord.
And so, Lisa, would you like to come in at this point, since you were just running up there?
Woo. All right. Well, like I said, our relationship was mostly based on people pleasing, which was really rooted in fear.
Okay.
But as, the older you become, the more you learn, those certain things. So the more I was enlightened on what the root cause was, I began to educate myself. I began to spend time with myself. I began to evolve. And as I was evolving, I must say, that my eyes became more open. Of course, your wants and your needs have kind of shifted, as well, because now you're becoming who it is that you are and who that you're supposed to be. You're manifesting yourself, based upon, in my perspective, the word of God and who that God called you to be, because it's inevitable. So I would say the biggest challenge was getting on the same page, so I'm not the people pleaser you married now. So now I'm expressing myself. I'm now starting to express my authentic self, and it's not meshing well. It's not meshing well. I'm now expressing myself more. I'm not letting things slide as easily as I used to. So the boundaries of what was set, I would say the more bondage of what was set, it's like I've broken past those. So evolving into I knew that I was, um, it created more friction and agitation than anything, on top of everything else that was going on and happening throughout the relationship. So,
Okay, so
yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted, so you sound like you're going in and out, but just to get clear, so you are referring to once you start becoming who you knew you needed to be in your previous relationship? Is
Yes.
that what you're referring? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you, at this point, what you're referring to is when you were still married.
Yes. When I was
Okay.
still married to the first husband, yes.
Okay.
So
Yes.
when you started to evolve, it created friction in your marriage.
Yes. Yeah, because now, this person is now coming forth and it's not the way that you're used to. It's not, in my case, it wasn't the subservient. It wasn't, as submissive, as what the norm was. So like I said, eventually, sacrificing became a non-negotiable.
Exactly.
There you go. There you go.
And so what we're referring to tonight is what could be holding you back, and it could be your relationship, right?
Yeah.
So once you start to grow and evolve, the friction is because something has to give.
Yes.
Right. And so again, Lisa has jumped into one of our other points, but very good point. Right. So right. She keeps jumping ahead. We're touching on one. And she's like, well, wait, let's get to this another one. So, but the truth of the matter is that a relationship should add to your happiness.
For sure.
Not right. And not the source of it. That's what we get confused. Happy, so the truth is that a relationship should add to your happiness.
It has to.
I totally agree with that. And that was one of the things that I learned, I was a person, I wanted to make you happy. I just wanted you to be happy. I want to make you happy no matter what it took to make you happy, but when I learned, wait a minute, I can't make you happy. You got to be happy already and I can help you.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. And it's not my job.
Yes, it's not my job. So, again, that came with the entire shift.
Right.
The shift became about, okay, now I got into a mode of, I need to catch up. Not that it's really possible in a time sense, but, I was of the mindset with God, all things are possible. So now I'm just like, okay, God, help me redeem the time. And so I became focused on what I wanted, and where I was going and what I was becoming. And that was the key and primary thing. And honestly, my kids were grown at the point, to the point of divorce. So my kids were grown and I was like, nothing else matters. And I didn't care, so I think from a Christian perspective, that's where you start to see like what would be considered as a hard heart, because now it's not about the sacrifice. It's not about, just going all in no matter what. I literally had to become a whole nother person from my ex's perspective to get to where I am today.
Okay.
So I call that evolving.
Okay, so now what we asked you before was, what are some suggestions so that when we're talking about point number 2, right? What are some suggestions that you can offer from your experience?
Once you get to that place of evolving, just be true to self. Be true to self. Definitely communicate what's happening. Communicate. Hey, you know what I'm saying? I have changed. There's some new needs. There's some new wants. Are you willing to deal with this? Are you willing to come on the same page with this? Do you understand where I am? Communicate that. One of the things that I would say from my perspective in learning that, it was hard for me to communicate to that to a certain degree because I'm still in the environment of coming out of fear and yet in this environment of evolving. So it was a constant battle for me, with fear and evolving. So because of that, I would say, make sure you communicate what's happening, with you at that moment. Make sure you're keeping that person on point or on the same level or hopefully bring them to the same level that you are best you can.
Okay, so let's take some comments right now.
Yeah.
We got Dennis saying healing is important. And Lisa, when you said you found who you were and who and what you wanted in your life, did you have challenges with people who didn't want to accept that you had changed?
I think the biggest challenge was with my ex.
Because that's what you were in a
I don't
relationship with,
I don't
right?
mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh.
But you know,
With my ex.
but because I think. Go ahead, Lisa.
What are you saying?
I was just going to say it's probably because we're talking about relationships, right? Because that's who the change needs to occur with. Whereas with Dennis, it may have been numerous of people. I don't know. Or is Dennis, are you referring to just your intimate relationship? So go ahead, Lisa. Mm-hmm.
Yes. No, really, the biggest issue was with the ex. And I think for me, when I'm in a relationship, that's really the primary person, right? So the people outside, I knew they may have had some type of probably a different view. They knew I was going through something. Just know that. They knew I was going through something.
You were showing up, I'll say it, you were showing up different.
Well, we always say
something, but I try to surround myself with people that first of all understand me and can contribute, to my well-being. They really love me at heart. I don't have a whole lot of friends. The friends that I do have, they're authentic, and I open, I welcome them to say whatever. So they help to keep me on point. So those people, they just knew that I was dealing with something and they were supportive. So the biggest friction was inside of my home. And that's what
okay.
Was. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to get to all these points tonight. So for us, we want you to realize that every emotion has a frequency. So our book relates to the laws, right? So we must understand that every emotion that you have has a frequency. And the law of vibration in chapter 2 in our book, right, teaches that your emotional energy directly impacts the dynamic of your relationship.
Right.
So if you're vibrating, as Lisa just said, if you're vibrating at a frequency of resentment, frustration, fear, anger, this is going to create an environment where those emotions are magnifying. So that's one thing we have to realize.
And last week we talked about the law of attraction, and that says that like attracts like. If you are constantly putting your own needs aside, you are sending out a vibration that you are not worthy of receiving. This sets a pattern that keeps you stuck in a relationship where you feel undervalued and unloved.
That's what we have to understand. What are we doing that's keeping this perpetual pattern going?
Can I say something right there?
Yeah. Go ahead. Absolutely.
You all spoke about unity, that frustration, that agitation. We were united in that.
You were united on the negative. You were united on the negative front.
A constant vibration, a constant frequency. So we were definitely united in that. But it's funny because at the point of divorce, when we had to write out, because we ended up doing we did it ourselves. When we wrote out what it is we wanted in the divorce, the non-negotiables, the thing to keep, etc., we were in agreement, total alignment. Total alignment. There was nothing different on either one of our pages. And so it was just like, it was the quickest, smoothest transition that I could have ever experienced. But it was amazing how we were just on the same page in that.
All right. So this point in this number 2 is that how many of us prioritize our partners, our children, our family, our work, everything else over our own? I'm hearing the feedback. It might feel like you're being loving, right? You may feel as though you have to be nurturing, you have to be loving, but over time we have to be careful. This is one of those things that may be holding you back because it can lead to resentment, burnout, and a loss of self, as Lisa has explained, right? So we have to understand, what do we need to do? So we're going to give you a couple of our suggestions what you could be done. All right, let's take a comment real quick before we give our suggestions.
Dawn is saying that is a great point. Add to the happiness not be the source of it.
Yeah.
Gold Rush also said happiness is an inside job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Sandra Robinson, so that means you should already be happy.
That's right.
That's right.
And just like I think, Sandra, we were talking about it last week, as Jason said, the law of attraction. And we were talking about this is what you give, right? I'm being loving, I'm being kind, I'm giving everybody what they need. But at the same time, I'm feeling like I'm not getting it back. What's going on? So, revisit that. So here's some. Okay. Another comment?
Yeah, Dot saying what you radiate, you attract. Also, Deborah is saying we have a tendency to bring to us how and who we are. It's the universal law.
That is the universal law.
And you know what I say about that sometime in our book, it says it too. Don't be fooled by what you think you're giving.
Yep.
Right. So oftentimes we see through our own lens and perception of ourselves, and that's why we can always see what's wrong with our mate. So we think we're giving one thing, but in reality, we're actually vibrating something totally different out, and we can't see it. And that's what we mean by vibrating on the same frequency. So most of the time when we want love, we're actually vibrating hate. We're vibrating resentment.
Expecting to get love.
Right. We're vibrating down here, but we want our mate to really come back in and give us love. So we have to be careful with that. So here's some solutions.
Go ahead.
All right.
We got one more. Some more.
Got you. Deborah is saying preach, Jason. And then
Thank you so much, Deborah.
we have Gold Rush saying loving yourself is always necessary if you can truly love any other.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. It's about loving yourself.
If you don't know what love is, how do you expect to get it?
You can't.
That's right.
All right. So,
Another comment? Okay. All right, Jay.
some of the solutions we have is make self-care a priority. I know a lot of times we put ourselves on the back burner, but truly make self-care a priority, and not in a selfish way, but in a more loving way.
Absolutely.
Because people pleasing doesn't work.
Yes, I have to totally agree with that. When I took that time after the divorce to really get to know myself, that was one of the key things that I did. I said, before I want to get involved with another relationship, let me see what it's like to date myself first. You know what I'm saying? And what I started to do was really to create a standard for myself, and again, be comfortable with it, because again, it was kind of new for me as well. Being the way that I was. Can you imagine being a people pleaser for more than half your life? And then now, you've evolved. So being more consistent with that, the key to that was me being comfortable with the change, with the decisions that I was making and sticking with them. So that's the
All right.
So one thing we got to have too, Lisa, and you
Just
did
what she
this.
said, yeah.
Yeah, you have to have honest conversations about fulfillment. This is not
that's
working
true.
for me. I need to be filled up this way. I need you to water me this way. Are we on the same page? Can we get on the same page? So, that's just how you start the ball rolling. Also, remember, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Amen.
So if you constantly giving of yourself every day, all day, year after year, you have nothing left to give.
You're reaching the side. You're
Right.
like, okay, I'm going to get something out of this.
I'm borrowing just to give you something, right?
Right. All right. So we are going to go to reason number 3. Lack of action and effect, which is associated with the law of inspired action.
All right.
All right. And if you don't know what the law of inspired action, go to chapter 3. All right. So this one hits
And
hard.
everyone should actually know. If you're on here, you should have the book by now.
Okay. So we're going to ask you, have you ever felt like, right, you've given it all to your relationship, and because of that, you've stopped pushing yourself to be the better version? You started settling for mediocrity, right? Most of the time we talk to people and they say, well, this is good. It's okay.
It's okay.
I'm all right. We're fine. I'm fine. Everything is going well. There's no need for us to try to grow individually or as a couple, not realizing that this is what causes stagnation.
Don't rock the boat. We're
Right.
doing good. So
Right.
don't change nothing right now. We've all been there. Yes. So you know what? We get comfortable. We settle in, And suddenly we just stop chasing our dreams. You look up 10, 15 years down the line, you haven't moved. We stop striving for more because we're enough. We're fine where we are.
So, Lisa, what's your thoughts on that, where we stop striving because in a relationship where you're actually not growing, right? You can't communicate. So we're going through these points, right?
Yeah.
You're not growing. You begin to stop dreaming. Do you find that to be a true statement?
Definitely. Especially when, again, going back to the previous marriage, especially when you're trying your best to make it work.
Right.
You know, you're trying to make it work. And by the same point, what I was trying to do was I was trying to grow a little and then wait, grow a little, wait, you know, and then I got some advice one time from someone and I said, you know, I feel like I have to just like become like this dumb person or, you know, and when I said that, they said, you mean dumb down? And I said, yeah. They said, it's okay to dumb down. You know, you just
Wow. Wow.
prayer, you know, it's and maybe they didn't, you know, depending on how
we
they
can only give you we can only give you
depending on the
according
way
to
they communicate. Maybe they meant it a different way,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, as I evolved, I took that to mean, okay, use wisdom, you know, and what you say and how you say it and how you pursue, learn how to speak that other person's language. But at that point in time, that was not what I needed to hear. And it just really agitated me even more. But, and I'm trying to be careful, you know, and use wisdom of my words. So one of the things that I heard was not to think more highly of yourself, you know. And so that was something that would come at me from time to time, not to think more highly of yourself. You're thinking too high of yourself. So battling with that and dumbing down, you know, would create a stifle, you know, in my spirit. And it caused me to become stagnant. It caused me to be discouraged because I knew after a certain point that wasn't who I was created to be. I was created to be free, to make choices freely and walk by faith and not by sight. That's my makeup, you know, and to compromise that is to compromise who I am. And that was the biggest thing for me. So definitely, you know,
doing it. And I want to say sometimes we mistake comfort for settling, right? So we're not really supposed to get comfortable in a relationship. That's not the goal. The goal is always growth. If your relationship isn't helping you level up, it might be keeping you small, or as Lisa said, dumbing you down, right?
Yeah, and you know what? This can apply in everything. It can apply in career, health, mindset, spirituality. If you and your partner aren't growing together, you might be just growing apart. And 9 times out of 10, that's what's happening. You're just
Exactly.
growing apart.
And so these are red flags. We have to be careful because they're so subtle and so small. We don't realize that these are some of the things that might be holding us back, and it could be our relationship. All right. So we want to emphasize that the law of inspired action is an important part of you taking the action to co-create your reality. You need to take intentional steps toward healing and improving your relationship. And as Lisa stated, she was trying to always work towards it, right? So what do I do? How do I do it? How do I show up? So she's thinking about taking intentional steps, not things that's going to deteriorate the relationship, but what do I do? How do I find myself and how do I make my relationship better?
Yeah, you have to be kind of motivated, you know, motivated by inspired thoughts and taking consistent steps forward, positive change that, you know, will follow. But you got to start. I mean, I know that, like Lisa said, that she was, you know, obviously fearful, and the thing that she feared kind of happened. I mean, the marriage ended up dissolving. But guess what? She also ended up okay. But you have to take that step because you cannot just be a shell of yourself. Taking the right actions bring about the results you want. Action is the missing link in many stagnant relationships. So just don't sit there and do nothing. you have to make a decision. You have to live out your purpose.
And I think what Lisa said, you get to a point in a relationship, and we're not advocating for a divorce or advocating to stay with some place that you're not. What we're saying is that understand the dynamics of a relationship and do something, right? When we understand what some of the problems are, then we can combat them together rather than letting that tear us apart. But when we stop expecting greatness in our relationship, then you stop inviting the richness of life to flow through you. That's the whole purpose, right? We deserve passion, connection, and fulfillment in our relationship. So we don't need to settle, and we shouldn't settle. And the universe is ready to give us everything we want when we realize that we don't have to settle.
That's right. But we are advocating for happiness. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's what we're advocating for. You can take it however you want. If it's happiness to stay there, then we're for it. If it's happiness to break up, we're happy with that as well.
But the point is that we're sharing so that you can be aware, so that you can get to the root causes of these problems and solve them together. Because half the time, divorce actually happens because we just don't know what to do. We don't know how to change. We don't know where to change. We don't know who to change. We're pointing fingers and this blame game going on. So we're trying to eliminate that.
Right. So if you can see some of these things and see, like we're learning from Lisa, right? The things that she has gone through. Now she's in a much healthier marriage and things are going well. But you had to go through that. You had to grow through that to become the person that you are now.
Yeah.
So you know what? Go ahead.
No, I was about to say, I'm glad too that I really took that time, by myself, versus trying to rush into another relationship or even fearing another relationship. I had to come to truce with myself. Okay, this is what I want. This is what I need. And then I would say, if I was to get into another relationship, then da 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 da
da da da da da.
Or if I choose to get into another relationship. So even in considering another relationship, I would make sure that I was still empowering myself, versus maybe it won't happen, maybe it will, or just cutting it off altogether. I think sometimes that's the problem, or the
comments.
Yeah, that's usually the problem that people create for themselves. The if. Don't be stuck in the what if. Don't go into a rabbit hole trying to figure out, if I do this, then that may happen and that may happen. And you're trying to figure out all the what ifs before you even make the next step. That alone can keep you stagnant.
And I think you said, Lisa, a great point was walk by faith, not by sight. And oftentimes we walk by past experiences and what we've seen instead of believing that, shifting our mindset to believe that greater is possible and that whatever that looks like, I'm taking the time to get to know myself, know what I want, know what I need so that when it shows up, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
All right.
So here's the things that some solutions that you guys might want to try. All right, you need to set some personal and relationship goals. Support each other's aspirations, hold each other accountable. So these are just some things that you can try. If your relationship is not where you want it to be, and you want to try to do some things, set some goals. Make sure that each partner respects each other and their aspirations.
That's right.
Because sometimes if my dreams get trampled on by my mate, who else am I going to share them with? Right? If I come to you and tell you that, and then you go, no, you can't do that, and give me all the reasons why. Support each other's dreams and aspirations.
And I think when you said hold each other accountable, I think accountable for the part you play in the relationship.
Right.
Right. Not finger pointing. We have to be
no. Yeah.
Right. No. I'm just saying. So we have to make sure that when we're doing this, we are actually being truthful and honest with ourselves. What part am I playing? What part did I play? And how can I change that role that no longer serves me, that may not have been for the greatest good of my relationship? So now we're going to get into reason number 4.
All right.
Avoiding necessary change and growth associated with the law of correspondence, right?
All right.
So let's get into the law of correspondence, which teaches us that the patterns we see in our external relationships mirror the patterns in our internal world. What does that mean? That means what's going on the inside is going to come out on the outside. All right?
Yeah, that's what it means. So if you got a mess in your world, on your outer world, I'm just saying, it means that if you're avoiding change or growth, the law suggests that there's a corresponding block in your inner world. When you are unwilling to evolve in your relationship, it often is a reflection of you not being open to personal growth, losing yourself in the relationship. This happens so easily. One day you wake up and you realize that you're not even yourself. And that is a very scary feeling when you wake up and you look in the mirror and you wonder, how did I get here and why?
I can definitely relate to that. I can relate to that. And it's not something that happens overnight, guys.
No.
It's the small things, as we talked about, right? It's putting your partner's needs first. It's putting your children's needs first. It's putting your job first. It's compromising all the time. Or, what is it? It's saying yes when you really want to say no. So sometimes we say yes, and everything inside of us is saying, screaming, no, no, no. So, Lisa, I want you to talk about that because I'm sure you can help us out.
Oh, yeah, that's part of people pleasing.
Right?
I thought about so many different scenarios when you brought that up. So I'll try to summarize this best I can without going off topic. So in the previous marriage, we came to many points of separation, and which with each separation, there was a different revelation of who I was and who I desired to become. But each time when we would get counsel, it was more based on, keep it together, keep it in prayer, that sort of thing. So again, evolving through the whole people pleasing thing, and also in relationship with God and lining up with the word of God, God hates divorce, and what God has put together, let no man put asunder, and all these different things. So again, you're putting the extra in to try to keep it together. But as we went through those separations and the different counsel that came, with each version, with each level, I began to say, I don't want this. And it's like I would say yes. The first time I said yes, and we moved on in the relationship, to continue it. The second time I said yes, I started to feel a nudge, like this is not the right decision. And again, each time the relationship went to a different level, but each time we went through that, I was more aware of who I was and who I was becoming. And the third time came up, and I called my leaders at that particular time, and I said, hey, this is what's going on with me. I don't want this anymore. And so the question came up, well, do you want us to keep you in prayer? We're going to keep you in prayer. I said, I don't even want you to keep me in prayer.
Okay.
When you don't even want your prayer. No, because
I don't even want you to keep me in prayer. But that was a hard thing for me, being a people pleaser. I got to that point whereas I had to learn where it was time to say no, in order for my self-sanity,
Exactly.
For me to evolve, for me to grow, I had to say no. And it was the hardest no I had to make, knowing all of this, knowing the word of God, knowing, again, what's right. But I was reminded that Jesus died on the cross for all sin, including divorce. So that's
all right.
Oh, man.
I'm really not an advocate for divorce, hence the reason why I'm married now. But I came into this relationship with a better perspective, knowing what I wanted, knowing what I needed, knowing what the standard was. And this guy came into the relationship with the same thing. We were in the same place, same time. He was finishing my sentences by the second date. That's all. I'm going to go from there. If you want to know the rest, go from there.
All right, Jason, let's go so we can finish this up. We're getting close to the end.
All right, so that just kind of reminds me of something. But here's the thing. You're meant to be. You're meant to grow in your relationship.
Absolutely.
Should support that growth and not stifle it. And it sounds like, before you got to that point, you were stifled. And when you got to the end, you was like, "That's it. I'm tapping out. I'm done. I did the best I could, and it just wasn't for me."
And I think that brings us to some of the solutions that we suggest that you could possibly use, which is set boundaries around your personal time, set boundaries in your life, right? Pursue individual passions.
Yep.
We have to know who we are. We can't stop doing what we love to do in order to make someone else happy, right? And then take small risk to build your confidence. Because as Lisa said, if you're a people pleaser or you're always doing everything for everyone else, you have to build those small things that builds your confidence to trust in the belief that I'm meant for greater. I'm meant for growth, and it's okay. And we can do it collectively where we're being supported, or sometimes we have to do that personal development first. Oftentimes we want the other person to change, but we have to be willing to step out as the first person that needs to change, because the only thing we can control is ourselves.
That's it.
The change within us. Yeah. All right. Do we have any comments?
Dawn is saying happiness is an action word.
Yes.
Yep.
Come on,
Yep.
Dawn. Come on
Yep.
up there. Turn the camera on, Dawn.
Then it's saying I have learned and observed myself changing my mindset and my attitude and actions since tuning into legendary relationship. I have learned it starts with me, and I have also learned to be humble and mindful of self-happiness and self-deflects before I could even ever consider trying to be in another relationship. Work on yourself first and seek inner healing.
All right.
Yep, that's it right there.
Go Rush is saying intentionally recognizing your greatness allows you to recognize the greatness in others in order to create an awesome relationship.
Yes.
Deborah was referring to Lisa. That was deep, Lisa. What an eye opener to reality.
Yep.
Wow.
And Dawn is saying you have to be honest with yourself, even if you're not honest with anyone else.
All right.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the hardest conversation.
Elevation takes honesty.
Elevation takes honesty.
We say that all the time. And
All the
talking
time.
about Dennis, I remember, Dennis, when we were telling you to do the mirror work, because mirror work works. All right, so
Yep.
let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Wow, we have unpacked so much today with just the 4 ways your relationship might be holding you back, right? Just the 4 little simple things. The people don't even realize that it's their relationship. But it's not too late. That's why we're here. So trust me, we are just getting started. If you like those, tune in.
That's right. What we covered today is only the beginning. In fact, the next 3 reasons we're revealing in the next episode, you guys better tune in next week.
All right, but here's the thing. We don't want you just listening.
Nope.
We want you to take action. So here's what we need for you to do. First, comment on Facebook or YouTube at Legendary Relationship what you guess. What are your guesses that you think 5, 6, and 7 are? The 3 things, the 3 reasons that could be holding you back, or your relationship that could be holding you back, right? And what do you think they are? What are your final 3? So we want you to put your guesses
Take
down
a
there.
wild guess.
So the 3 hidden ways your relationship could be holding you back.
All right. Second, hit that follow and subscribe button right now so you don't miss part 2. And if today's episode hit home, I'm sure it did because it hit home for me.
That's
Share
right.
it with a friend, a family member, or someone who you know that it could bless.
That's right. So we're here next Friday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time and 7 o'clock Eastern Time, where we will reveal. Too many words.
Where we will review.
Where we'll reveal the final 3 reasons. All right. We got a comment? Oh, okay.
All right. If you find yourself at the crossroads in your relationship and you need help, feel free to contact us. That's why we're here. We're not just on here talking. We're out here actually helping and guiding, right? So if you need some help, feel free to reach out to us, legendaryrelationship.com. Go to manifestajoyfilledrelationship.com to get your copy.
Start transforming yourself and your relationship today.
All right, so that's it.
Wait, nope. Lisa, do you have anything else before we leave? Anything brief, Lisa?
Anything brief? Well, first of all, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for thinking of me and allowing this opportunity. The other thing I want to let your audience know is that Singleversity partnered with Legendary Relationship, and so they'll be featured on our Facebook page. So if you don't know, I should say, if you don't know how to find us on Facebook. It's Facebook Singleversity. That's it. That's all. And like I said, Legendary Relationship, thank you for partnering with us and sharing with your social content as well.
All right, real quick, Lisa, share with everybody what Singleversity is and then spell it so they can find it on Facebook.
Yes. Singleversity, I'll spell it first. SINGLEVERSEITY. So Singleversity was part of my whole evolution of being single. I changed jobs, changed locations. I was originally based out of Chicago, born and raised in Chicago, moved to Zanesville, Ohio. Never heard the town of my life, but this has been like a promised land for me for thriving and just really walking in freedom. And so Singleversity started as a singles ministry. And it still is, a portion of it is a singles ministry. It was something God gave me to learn how to be single, because I'd never been single my entire adult life, you know. So I had to learn to be me, learn what it was to walk in line with the Word of God and live a thriving, purposeful life, to live out my purpose and be free in doing it and be happy. That's it. So eventually, a couple years later, I ended up getting married to this wonderful guy.
So much for that Singleversity.
Check out my personal Facebook page if you want to know that story, Lava the Poet. But anyway, so now that I'm married, I'm now like intertwined in the vision that I wrote out as a single person. I'm now that married, we're now that married couple that single people can go to for advice, advice again. I'm trying to sum it up for advice. But it still promotes growth in individuals, because I went through that time period as an individual. I didn't know who I was. And there are still some married people out there that are like that didn't get that single part of their life developed before they got married. So we're interested in the whole person becoming whole, whether they're in a relationship with someone else or just by themselves in a relationship with God. So living their best life as a single person, as an individual, before they get married. And once they're married, they can identify who that person is because they're already whole. They've already.
All right. Thank you. So again, if you want to find out more about Singleversity, you can follow their Facebook page. Or if you want to know Lisa's personal story, you can go to Lisa Lava. It's Lava Poet. All right. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you for sharing.
And thank you for sharing. That's the thing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so open about your journey.
Right. We all have a past. Yeah. Go ahead, Lisa.
No, I just said thank you for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. And so we all have experiences. And the thing is just, if we can, as Lisa said, teach one, right? If we can just share our experiences, we can help someone who may be going through the same thing that may not know where to turn. So that's the whole purpose. So, and that wraps up another episode for us at Love and Beyond the I Do podcast. We are the dynamic duo in relationships. And as always,
we're in it to win it. Till next week, guys. Don't forget, it's part 2.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Love and Beyond the I Do podcast. Head over to iTunes to subscribe and leave a review. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Legendary Relationship, or visit our website at legendaryrelationship.com. Till next time, remember to make every day count.